G'day people and welcome, I'm Sharyn. Today I'm going to show you how to do a blind hem if you only have a sewing machine, not an overlocker. And particularly I'm looking at the machines that have a manual blind hem foot. So they've got some sort of a screw thing happening on them so you can move the guide left to right. I happen to be doing this on a Husqvarna H Series E10, thanks Jan. But it actually applies to lots and lots of machines. Let's get started. My blind hem is going to happen down here. I have turned up my fabric by about 1 centimetre and then a couple of centimetres, and I want to baste this down. So I'm going to use a long straight stitch to stitch around it. Now this is not absolutely necessary, but it makes your life easier if it's basted in place. You don't have to worry about things getting twisted. I'm going to remove the accessory box. We're still on stitch A, but now I'm going to make the stitch length as long as I can, which in this case is 4. And basting is a long stitch that's easy to remove. I want to have plenty of room out this side for when I'm doing the blind hem, so I'm leaving about 1/4 inch on the left. I am watching on the left for how far it is from the folded edge to the edge of the foot. I don't need to go all the way across there, and I definitely do not need to tie anything off. This is basting. The idea is it's going to come out easily. Wind the take-up lever to the top, lift the foot and pull to the back. We're going to change now to this foot, which is the one for blind hems. So to take off the standard foot, pull it towards you. There's a little lever at the back and pull it towards you. This one you place under the ankle, matching up the bar on the foot with the crevice, I suppose, in the ankle, and then drop that crevice down. I'm going to change to stitch E, which I'll be able to see down here. And I'm going to leave, for the moment, the stitch length at 4. Using some scrap fabric, I want to stitch until I see the point where the needle jumps over to the left. So if you look at stitch E in the top line, it has some little wiggles, little zigzags, and then there's a big one that goes to the left. That was a big one. Little, little, big. Now I actually want to have it ready to do the big one, so I just hand wound my way through the pattern until I came to that stitch that was about to go over to the left. And that stitch is really important because that's how you calibrate your blind hem foot, by winding the little screw on it to get it to just take a little bite out of the main fabric while you're doing this stitch. And having a look at that, I'm going to reduce the stitch length to 3. It's not going to change the method I use, but I just want these things to be closer together. Towards the end of this video, I'm going to line up a few hints, and one of them relates to this stitch length thing, but we won't go into it just yet. And we have the inside with the hem folded up and the hem stitched or basted around, and now I'm going to fold it back to expose the inside edge of the hem. This is important. When you fold the hem underneath and expose the inside edge of it, you do not want to fold your fabric all the way back to that basting stitch. You only want to fold it close up to where the edge of the hem is, maybe about 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters away from the folded edge. So fold of the hem edge, fold of the fabric. Basting stitch is further out this way. What I want to happen is for the needle, when it's coming down on this big stitch to the left, is that it just catches the folded edge of the hem. And once I've done that, I can lift the foot up a little bit, and what I want to do is roll that flange out until it matches up with the folded edge. I am arranging my fabric so that I'm an even distance on that fold I've just made from the fold of the hem. And what I've got to aim to do is to sew with that flange right on this fold. So every now and then that needle comes over and it takes a little bit of a bite out of the fold here. The smaller the bite that needle stitch takes out of the folded fabric, the less obvious the blind hem will be on the right side. So it does pay to have a bit of a play with it before you go to the actual garment. So you can adjust where this is to be taking less of a bite. So if you move this over further to the left, you'll take less of a bite. If you move it further to the right, you'll take more of a bite. And you can see there, it is taking just a little bite. Fabrics that are thicker, you can afford to take a bigger bite out of. So I'm changing now to a different stitch. This was the blind hem for stretch fabrics, and I will, without changing anything else at all, I'm just going to move on to stitch F, which is the blind hem for woven fabrics. And I shouldn't need to change anything else down here. The difference between the stitches for stretch fabric and woven fabric is that the one for stretch fabric is the one we've just used, and it's got a bit of zigzag in between the big stitches. The one for woven fabric has straight stitches. The one for woven fabric does not have any give in it. The stretch one will work fine for woven fabric or stretch fabric, but that one for woven fabric sometimes will hold things in a bit. And when I get to the end, lift the needle up, lift the foot up, and take it to the back. And that's what you'll see on the inside, but that's with the hem folded down. When we unfold the hem, it looks like that. And remember, this straight line of stitching is going to be pulled out, and on the right side we've got these little bits, and that's where the needle moved over and took a bite out of the fabric. So the smaller the bite, the smaller those little blue flecks will be. Here is a blind hem I've done on a pair of trousers. It's hard to see those little stitches. The most important thing you can do to make your blind hems difficult to see, match your thread to your fabric. It's obviously easiest to do if you've got a patterned fabric, but if you've got a plain fabric, you definitely don't want to be trying to do this in the wrong colour. It will be obvious. Try and get those stitches, the bites out of the main fabric, to be somewhere around a 1/2 inch, 12 mils apart. You can't see them here until I pull them up. They are a little less than a 1/2 inch apart, about 1 centimetre. Don't want them any closer than that because then they make themselves obvious. That is why I do not recommend trying to do a blind hem with an overlocker, because you can do it, but every stitch is going to be at 5 mils or less than 1/4 inch, and that is too close together and it makes it too obvious. When you've finished and you've taken your basting stitch out, press it. And I don't mean iron, I mean press. especially when you're working from the right side. If you iron, you will give yourself a shiny spot, and that's not what you want. You need to press your hems. And that pressing, because it takes out various creases, actually makes it look a lot better. I hope you've learned something today, and I will put in the description a couple of other videos I've got about blind hems. And I hope that helps you, and I shall see you next time.